Howard. So I'm here to introduce Sinead and from Cora and Thomas from Ropemaker Place, who are here to speak about their experience of implementing simpler recycling for workplaces over the past few months. And a huge thank you to them for joining us to speak today. And before I pass over, just a reminder from our team that we're really keen to continue to showcase best practice at these forums and as our online resources. So please do get in touch at our inbox, which I'll put the details of in the chat after this. And just say that I'll also stick around to the end in case there are any policy questions from attendees today on simpler recycling. So with that, I'll pass over. Thank you.
Are you there, Sinead?
Hello, can you hear us?
Hi, you okay?
Hi, thank you. Next slide, our first slide, please. Hi, so thank you. If you jump on to the next slide, we'll just introduce ourselves. My name is Joanna Thomas, and I am Head of Marketing and Communications at Recora. I'm a Chartered Resource and Waste Manager, and at Recora, we are a commercial waste and recycling firm. And I'm just going to talk a bit about how we informed our business customers on the new simpler recycling legislation and helped them and supported them in implementation and staying compliant.
And I'm Thomas Walsh. I am the property manager, works for Savills, and I take care of Ropemaker Place here in London.
Next slide, please. Great. So I'll start off by talking about Recora's perspective and how we adapted as a business to try and get, help out 6,000 customers become compliant with updated simpler recycling legislation. So I think the first thing that we needed to do was evaluate, whether us as a business allowed our customers to be compliant with simpler recycling through our services. So, in the most part, we did allow our services allowed customers to be compliant because we actually started off as a paper recycling firm. So we already had things like segregated paper and segregated cardboard, but we did need to make some sort of minor adaptations to our services to support our customers. So one of the first things that we did was change our specification of mixed recycling, because cartons were now included within the core material streams, which it wasn't previously. We did collect this as a separate stream previously, but because it was now included in the core materials, we thought that this would be best if it was now incorporated into mixed recycling. We were already manually picking out cartons and Tetra Paks at our facility anyway, so we don't see a lot of this that comes through, but with the rise of things like alternative milks, we knew that this was only going to increase, and we thought it's a simplification of messaging and to allow customers and allow businesses to capture this material. We thought it would be best implemented by incorporating this into mixed recycling specification. I think one of the biggest adaptations that we made was allowing more businesses, I think one of the biggest challenges we saw was small volume collections and adaptations, especially in terms of food waste recycling. I think one of the biggest things, and one of the big reasons why businesses weren't already collecting food waste was probably because people thought, oh, well, I don't produce food waste, I only produce the odd tea bag or the odd apple core. So we wanted to make sure that we had services in place to allow those very small food producers, very much like, small charity shops or very small offices, and that we had services appropriate to them, because previously we might have only had bins. So we developed a small food waste caddy collection. So this, you can see on the screen here, this is a 23-litre food waste caddy, which we implemented, which allowed very small volume collection with food waste. And it was also reiterating the aspect that we do curbside waste collections for those businesses that may not necessarily have space for bins. The people can use prepaid sacks and actually only put out the sacks that are required for them. So if they only produce one bag of food waste per week or one bag of glass, this service allowed that flexibility for however much that they produced in that period. And And one of the big things that we did was invest more in automation within our materials recovery facility. So you can see on the screen here, we invested in an AI robotic sorting arm, which we're actually going to use to sort Tetra Paks, because our MRF isn't set up to automatically collect Tetra Paks. So actually, by investing in this automation, it provides us with the flexibility in future as the potential more changes in future, such as the flexible plastics coming forward in 2027. By having this type of technology, it allows us to adapt for further changes as well. So next slide, please. So now that we had the services set up and we had the infrastructure, it's about how do we communicate that? How do we spread the message and guide businesses on how to comply with the new legislation. I think the most important thing that we did was do an internal communication campaign. We'd have staff such as account management team, sustainability, a help desk, who interact with clients and businesses on a daily basis. So it was really important for us that everyone within business could confidently speak about simpler recycling and how that impacted different businesses. So we did I ran a big internal communication campaign where we did internal briefings, webinars, did template presentations for people for staff to give to businesses. And we did a big simpler recycling compliant checklist where it would allow our staff to be able to look up a site on our system and say, right, they've got X, Y, and Z service, and go through the checklist to check which customers were compliant. After we did that, I launched a big external multi-channel comms campaign to try and spread the message on, far and wide amongst our customer base and businesses on what the rules were and how they were going to impact them. So the first thing we did was create a big guidance document, a very detailed guidance document on the changes and what that meant for the business and what it meant for our individual customers, how they could comply and what they needed to do to make sure that they remain compliant. So we did a very in-depth document, but did a series of smaller ones as well, which sort of put the message across in a much more simple way. Then I ran a big email marketing campaign when we ran this from probably as early as June 2024. But anyone who has previously worked in marketing and communications know that not everyone reads their emails all the time. So we kind of had to get quite creative on how we disseminated that info and use lots of different channels. So we did things like update email messaging, our email signatures, updated our phone recordings when people were calling our help desk, gave notifications on our internal customer portal. So we use lots of different channels to put this information across, as well as doing sort of segmentation. So you can see in the example email here, we emailed those customers who didn't have food waste recycling set up, and to make sure they knew that they were compliant. So we did a lot like that. So next slide, please. And we used a lot of other channels as well. We made sure that we had a website page. We also hosted monthly webinars to give businesses a forum to ask questions back and forth. So we did a series of these as well, covering different aspects of simpler recycling, some delving into the mixed recycling aspect and the core materials in there. Also questions on things like food waste. And we did a series of very, very detailed blogs, which we could send out to people to read on their own, in their own time. So, we tried to cover as many bases as possible. Whichever way people learn, whichever way people, take in our messaging, we tried to cover all those bases. Next slide, please. But inevitably, you with any change in legislation, you do face some challenges, and here are just two, some of the prominent ones that we came across. I think the first one, as I mentioned earlier, was the small volume collections. I think there was some confusion because in Scotland and Wales there is that 5-kilo threshold for food waste, but that wasn't in place in England. So, we have customers who came to us and said, oh, well, I don't produce any food waste. Well, actually, and the legislation is that every business must, at the moment with less than 10 with more than 10 employees must have food waste recycling. And I think that's why we did the development of the very small volume food waste collections. So to adapt that. And then if you look all the way, the other end of the spectrum for very, very large commercial sites, we work with lots of large commercial estates like Battersea Power Station, King's Cross, where we have lots of public realm space. And I think that's where the forum with DEFRA came in really, it was very useful because it allowed us to ask these questions about things that may have cropped up a bit later down the line. So I actually asked the question, do the public realm litter bins come under the guise of simpler recycling, to which it did. So, I think that was a big challenge for us to actually work. And we're still working with lots of the estates to really get compliant on this, because it's a big infrastructure change for them to have to have segregation where previously they just had maybe small litter bins. So, there are things to overcome, but I think that's where the communication, like I said, especially with DEFRA here, to be able to ask these questions and having the forum has been great. So we're still working with the commercial estates to roll these out, but these are just some of the ones that we faced. So I'm going to pass you over to Tom now, who's going to talk to you about Rope Maker Place, not just about how they've
just got a couple of minutes, Tom. I'm conscious of time, so you're going to have to be super quick if you can.
Sorry. That's not how they've become compliant with simpler recycling, but how they've actually gone above and beyond just being compliant.
Okay, thank you, Sinead. Well, Rope Maker Place is one of the larger commercial properties in London. It's 20 stories, 602,000 square foot. We're based in Moorgate, so we're right in the middle of the city. As you can see on the slide here, when we first started looking at our waste ash back in 2022, it was only 58%. We had aspirations to obviously reach 75% and try and push and go beyond it. Next slide, please. So our strategy was to look at the waste management, look at innovative waste streams, and also look at if we can bring in closed loop systems into the building. Now, we work very closely with Recora, who are a service partner for waste. You saw the multitude of information that Recora can assist us with, and we use that information to go to our occupier main leads then to filter down that kind of positive communication throughout all the organizations we have within this commercial premises. We created a recycling hub, which you can see on the right-hand side there. So we segregated all the waste. We do have a dedicated waste team, a waste sorting team, who do an absolutely fantastic job. We weigh all the different waste streams from all our occupiers. We use a Weightron machine, which has been calibrated, so we know that the figures are correct. And we also make sure that Recora's trucks have been calibrated, so we're assured that the figures that we are advising our client and indeed our occupier of is correct. Next slide, please. So to make sure that we were able to get to where we needed to get to, we had a lot of stakeholder engagement. We implemented a 12-month program. We implemented some lease changes as well. We brought in some green clauses into leases, whereby we've asked all the occupiers to come on board with the journey that we as a building are on, and so that was written into their leases. Also, in the heads of terms that we've agreed with the occupiers, they feature inside there also. When we get the monthly stats through from Recora, we share that with the occupiers. We have a bit of a league table, so all the occupiers pit against each other, trying to be the best occupier recycler within the building, which has proven to be very effective. One of the biggest issues that we noticed when we started segregating the waste properly was food waste. So we have been working very closely with our occupiers to see if, number one, they can produce less food. Do they need to produce as much food as what they're doing? And based on the information that we provide them with, they've actually reduced the number of different meals they produce on a daily basis for their clients up there, which in turn reduces the raw materials that go into the food and reduces the food at the end of it if it's not sold. But if the food is not sold, then we have various different schemes in place, whereby the food is collected and given to different charities, and indeed sometimes it's given to members of my team. Speaking of my team, they're the people with the thumbs up on the right-hand side. You can see they're very enthusiastic looking, And the great thing about that is that's not just the waste team. That's the waste team, that's building management team, and there's also security and maintenance in that photo. So it's a collaborative approach across all the different departments I have under me here at Ropemaker Place, and it really works well. You can also see there on the right-hand side, bottom right, there's a stormboard table, which is made out of recycled materials. This is where my waste team carry out most of the segregation. And like I said, they do an absolutely fantastic job. Next slide, please. So what's the broader impact and what are our future plans for the building? We want to continue to be better than what we are. We are the highest producing recycling property within the Savills portfolio throughout the UK. At this present moment in time, we're hitting 93% recycling rate. I know it sounds very high, but like I said, we checked the figures, we've made sure everything is calibrated, we've verified everything, so we're sticking with those figures. That has come through about 4 years of hard work and working with everybody through all the different levels within the building, from the owner right through to the people doing the waste sorting. All right. We aim to be a blueprint for sustainability operations in multi-occupied buildings, and we're actually working with Recora at the moment to become a carbon neutral waste producing building. Now that entails a lot of communication with the occupiers. There's a lot of webinars going on. There's a lot of face-to-face meetings going on. But once we finish this project, we will be able to then show other commercial properties, not only in London, but throughout the UK, what can be done. But it is going to take a lot of hard work, that's for sure. But the rewards are there if you can make it happen. Now, we recycle 14 different materials here in the building. I won't list them all through because we're cut for time. But I mean, focusing on waste is one of the main things we do in the building. But we're sustainability building as a whole anyway. We look at how much water we use. We look at how much energy we use. We look at how we are as a neighbour within the community in which the building is sited. We have a holistic view of what we should be doing, and waste is just one of them, and that's what we're focusing on today. Now, thankfully, because of the work we have done, we have, as you can see there, we've won a number of industry awards, and we have been recognised throughout the entire Savills portfolio, and we even got a Savills Recognising Excellent ESG Initiative of the Year award last year. Next slide, please.